We did the first album in London, different studios all over the place, and it was just like, well, we get this every day, every time we wake up, every time we come into town we see this, and we just wanted something different.
Peasants, Pigs and Astronauts, it could mean lots of things really, couldn't it? I mean, it could be describing people, it could be describing attitudes.
We started assembling these tracks like Mystical Machine Gun, SOS, 108 Battles of the Mind, and there is a kind of link in the theme and the lyrics. And I know there's a lot of people out there who are making Millennium type albums, and good luck to them. But I felt personally a lack of kind of positive or love-orientated aspiration to all that. Some of my favourite albums have got themes running through them as well, so I kind of went for the gamble.
I hear the sound of drums and a melody. I hear the sound of drums. Oh, I sing in the names above in the city, yeah. Revolution.
We're at the end of a frightening century of change and supposed progression and development, and we're just pointing out that maybe this development isn't all it is cracked up to be. And I think there's a lot of subjects in the album that, you know, just that kind of yearning for a simpler time maybe, or something where you're not based on me. You
know, people may look at this and say, this is just too damn serious for us right now. We'd rather party like it's 1999.
For some people it's just an arbitrary date in time and it doesn't mean anything, and then on another level it's a time when mass communication has brought a lot of people together to think about the same kind of ideas and concerns. You know, if that doesn't lead to some kind of appreciation of each other and some kind of celebration of love, happiness, or some kind of peace, then you know, it's just going to be a waste of time.
Maybe we want our music to reflect our worries and our concerns and our hopes and our dreams. And if that's the case, this album will be very, very successful. The Great Hosanna, as well as being the first track on the album, was really created to be an introduction to the whole idea of this project, and incorporates within it bits and pieces from virtually every song that comes later on the album.
Alonso, our bass player, his mother Julie, she said, "It's a bit heavy metal for me, so in places it's heavy, which this makes me happy."
It's 2 o'clock.
Well, we had this track, the working title of it was Spawn of Satan, and we realised we couldn't really call the track that, so we just retitled it SOS, which is a nice kind of way actually, because it's a bit of a cry for help. It's this kind of, just a track of catharsis, and it's just like everything I hate about the world in one song.
This is the age of decay and hypocrisy. Sometimes I feel like the world isn't ready for me.
Well, working with the producers, like bringing on another member of the band.
We chose Mr. Ezra into it because we liked his stuff.
We kind of found that producers at the moment were very much either kind of ideas-based or technology-based. You know, they were really good engineers and knew how to, you know, get sounds up and everything, but they weren't actually totally musical. And somebody like Bob Ezrin he's I wouldn't want to say old school, it might offend him, but it's another kind of league of producer that's very, very musical.
You chaps okay there?
First time I met Bob, I thought it was a bit too. I thought it was too straight because he had little slippers on and short hair. I thought this guy's straight.
The project calls on a lot of my experience from the past and reminds me of a lot of the things that I had done in the past.
The stuff he did with Alice Cooper and all the early stuff that he did, it's just got good sound, big ballsy sound, good rocky sound.
There is some of that sense of experimentation and heavy reliance on atmosphere that we got into with Peter Gabriel or Pink Floyd. There's a sense of irony and a kind of rock consciousness, like some of the stuff I did with Alice Cooper or with Lou Reed.
He'd been working on a technology-based company, so coming back into the music business for him and working on an album with a young band was really just like, let me at it, you know.
It's allowing me to sort of draw on some of my past experience as I learn and continue to create new things with this group. Most of my working relationships tend to be collaborative. I enjoy the bouncing back and forth of ideas, and I really love it when the musicians take an active role in more than just what they play.
There's not any producers out there like him at the moment.
Crispian and Alonza grew up in this neighborhood, and as teenagers they were aware that we were down here on this boat making records. They knew that just over that wall somewhere there was a magical place where Pink Floyd was making music. And I think every once in a while they kind of hopped up and took a look over the fence, you know, and sort of dreamed about what it would be like to be down there. And when we talked about making the album, the first question out of their mouths was, do you think we might be able to get Dave's boat?
He'd done work here with Floyd, and I'd lived round the corner, and Alonza had also. And so this place was a kind of like a mythical.
It is wonderful recording on this boat for many reasons. One of them is these things here, which are windows that open, and it's much better than air conditioning. You see, when you were recording the last album, we were stuck in these little bunkers. I think they were like left over from the Cold War, you know, these radiation sort of shelters.
Sometimes it was just a little bit too beautiful, the surroundings. If you got a nice day and the swans were floating past and you were trying to sing Spawn, you know, SOS, it'd just be, oh no, you had to close your eyes and imagine you were in some smelly, dark studio in the pits of Soho.
Well, I saw Crispian first on Hampton Station, which is about 10 minutes down the road from here. And early one morning, amongst a crowded platform of commuters, there was a freaky kid with this bowl haircut and stood out a mile, and he looked like he was from another age.
So I sort of knew him vaguely on the scene, you know. He was into all the same music as me, all the 60s American garage stuff. We all had these pointy boots and the bowl haircuts, and like you do.
And I actually met him maybe 2 years later at Richmond College, and we got rock and roll band together, which then went through various lineup changes. I think it was the later part of that band that Paulie Winterheart came aboard. So Mr. Jade Darlington, we knew from around. He was another odd sort of bowl-headed being that you'd see in the corner of rooms at parties, sort of looking bowl-haired and strange. And we knew of him, and we knew he had his little Vox Continental, and we wanted the keyboard there. So we got Mr. Darlington on board.
The first sort of bands I got into were American garage and psychedelic bands from the mid-60s. Bands like the Seeds, the Electric Prunes.
I'm standing somewhere in between. Love is a child of liberty.
I've always been into the Beatles. My dad was a Beatles fan, and his father's father and his father's father was a Beatles fan as well. We've all been Beatles fans.
One of my big heroes was George Harrison, of course, because he'd done all those crossover stuff, and he'd worked with and he was so much responsible bringing a lot of Indian music and ideas over.
We've all got aspects of 60s lifestyle that we're into, but mine was, LA sounded like a good place to be in '69.
Glastonbury was like something we'd been desiring and visualizing, you know, for years and years. It was really, really special for us, and we got received really well. And as soon as we came off stage, the festival organizer, Michael Eavis, came up and said, "Oh, Neil Young's hurt his finger. Will you go on?" And we were like, "Yeah!"
to party. Oh baby, it's all a catastrophe. Oh lover, it's not how we used to be. I'm just a man who's battling with his mind. 108 battles within the mind's forever changing what you began.
So it's not really your typical kind of guitar, bass, drums, and keyboards rock album. And what we did was we ended up bringing in instrumentation from a variety of different places and a variety of different cultures. There's an awful lot of reference back to Indian classical music on the album. In fact, we used some of the greatest classical musicians in Indian music today.
Hari Prasad, he's played on a couple of tracks. It's just a pleasure to get like truly great musicians. You know, we're rock and rollers and we sort of mostly taught ourselves and we're, you know, blagging basically, but to see someone that's just perfected their instrument and there's 5 holes on this flute and I don't know how many notes he gets out of the thing.
And in India, he's like God. And for me, he was, you know, I've been listening to him for years. So getting him in the studio was an amazing experience. And, you know, he'd play something and then the tape would finish, stop rolling and you'd, you know, say something over the talkback like, that was wonderful, you're amazing, thank you, let's try just one more, shall we? You know, like, what else could you say, you know?
Gauri sang on Govinda, and so it's the famous voice of Govinda on a couple of the tracks that we've done on this album. Brass and violins and stuff, 30-piece orchestra or whatever it was in the little room over there. So we had to go to Abbey Road.
First time I ever went to Abbey Road, it was totally empty, and I walked down those steps into this hall, and I didn't realise it was so big, and it was just echoing footsteps as I walked down, and it was filled with ghosts, and I could hear all this music going on, and I was living out a personal kind of wet dream.
Crispian went home one night, came in the next day and said, I had this idea, picked up his acoustic and played I'm Still Here. It's absolutely beautiful.
I was sure I heard you singing while my head was broken up, while my world in flames was rearranged. Oh, I'm still here.
You know the connection between Kula Shaker and Indian culture.
It's a really powerful culture. We've been deeply, irreversibly affected, and you can't get it out of our music.
In a place that we are.
Some people kind of think that Kula Shaker are like this band and they've got like religious interests. Some people think we're just total phonies, and other people think, you know, we're using it to make money. And I don't like religious institutions. I'm not into religions because they split people up. I thought it was about bringing people together.
Oh, religion's a horrible word, isn't it, religion? I hate that. Yeah, I guess it's just trying to look, scratching beneath the surface, you know. You're presented with this world and you'll look at the papers and read the TV and you're presented with this seemingly quite sane world where everything's quite in order and everyone goes about their business. And it's just a case of scratching the surface and looking below that. And we've certainly met some people that have done that and are way below the surface. The fact that there's probably no chance they'll come back.
People would ask us about, you know, signing your record contract at the right time of the day and all this kind of things, and were we obsessed with numerology and folklore, and the answer was, you know, really quite simply yes. We were not only interested but obsessed. I think there's been so much of kind of alternative, you know, astrology and fortune telling and runes and tarot and that whole kind of culture. It's become so much part of like coffee table reading, but actually it's really part of our old cultures, no matter where you come from in the world. And you know, there's always something to learn from it. You can't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
It's been a really great experience working with this band for a whole lot of reasons. I think maybe the most important one is that almost everything they do is based on some sense of principle, a tremendous sense of enthusiasm, and they're very artistic on levels other than just in music.
Mystical Machine Gun, I wrote these lyrics about 3 years ago, and I dug them out when we were getting stuff together for this album. You go back over your old tapes and your old lyrics and your old notes, and I found that most of the lyrics for Mystical Machine Gun, give or take a line or two, and I just thought they were really exciting and fun. And I remember writing it at the time because we didn't have very much going for us. And I think, you know, the Mystical Machine Gun was like me trying to like get my life together and use all the things that I'd learnt musically and philosophically and just everything that you learn about life, and put it together in some big cauldron and stir it up and make a big explosion and kind of make something happen.
He's got his mystical machine gun, and instead of firing sort of bullets that hurt people, they sort of turn people's heads around. It's that kind of machine gun. For the better, yeah. It's a lot less messy. You don't get brains and blood everywhere.
I think everybody's got a mystical machine gun in their pocket.
Alien identities, don't hide your pretty face from me. You awoke to the riddle of your life like no one was there for you. I open up to where you first began as a nicotine junkie, singing for a toy can. Are you glad to see how far you come? You're a wizard in a blizzard of mystical machine gun.
If you take each member of the band individually and you listen to them play, you'll think that there's a kind of a flair there, but then there's not an amazing amount of musicianship going on, I don't think. When you put us all together, there's some kind of chemistry happens, and we all kind of cover for each other and bring out the best in each other.
Mr. J. Darlington is the dark horse. He's the man behind that keyboard, the man of many follicles.
He's a great Hammond organ player. He's very gifted in acquiring, you know, analog keyboard relics. He doesn't like the spotlight. That's the only problem.
Alonzo's just, you know, easygoing. He's probably the easiest going member of the band, actually. He's like, never offends anybody, and drinks a lot of tea.
Tea and cake.
Nice cup of tea.
Alonzo Bevan is stuck in the 1920s with his character, but he's very musical. He's more musical than me, probably the most musical person in the band. Paul, he's a victim of his own fate, and all things magical and mystical and alternative he was running, screaming from, because he'd grown up in Glastonbury. New Age, flaky type people are all based there in Glastonbury. He had too many experiences with incense burners and crystal fortune tellers in the pub, and you know, he just wanted to get away. And when he came to London, he was like a country boy coming to the big city, and he ran into us.
Paul is very famous for being able to sleep anywhere.
Paulie likes to snooze a lot. He's a fine snoozer and a very lovely geezer, really.
Crispian's character traits. Oof, got to be careful here, haven't I?
Yeah, I have to be diplomatic here, don't I? But, no.
He's very focused. He's a very focused young man, and I don't know how he does it, but he manages to keep everything, you know, under control.
He has a tendency to have blonde hair, I've noticed that.
Crispian can be very bad or he can be very good. He can be very charismatic or very grumpy. And he works too hard.
But he's like a 50-year-old gentleman with the mind of a child, or maybe a child with the mind of a 50-year-old gentleman. I don't know, it sort of swaps around from time to time. So.
If Kula Shaker came together by accident, then accidents and chaos is a wonderful thing. I know a lot of people say we're a very well-behaved band and that we don't swear, and it's true, we never say f***, we never say sh**, we never say c***, we never use them all in the same sentence, you know, but we are very polite, we're a bunch of f***ing f***ers. I'm Crispian Mills. I sing, I play guitar.
Jay Darlington, keyboards.
Alonzo Bevan, bass guitar.
Paul Winterhart, drums.